I have decided to add a little bit more hair detail in here before I put the wash on that I was telling you about. Let's pick up some more raw sienna. And like I said, we have to be careful with this stuff simply because raw sienna and burnt umber wash up more easily. Oh, I don't know about this. A little more burnt umber there. Join some of those lines. See, I've got too many individual lines. You don't want just you don't want a bunch of like that. So you just join them like this with jagged edges. And that makes a bit of shadow. Soften some edges on it. That's the hardest thing to teach. I don't know why, but there's something in the brain, I guess, that says that these are all individual hairs and that they have to be made with lines. I'm going to give myself I tried to have curls here. I'll give myself a few curls. I'm doing this darker because this is a shadow area anyway. Okay. I always wanted curls. Natural curls. That's the cool thing about a self-portrait. You could do anything to it you want. Who's going to complain but you? All right. Okay, we're going to dry this. Well, I think this looks more like me close up than it does at a distance. So now we're going to do something. See, we have this yellowish hair, kind of orangey yellowish hair in places. So that's because I have this brilliant plan. We'll see if it works. I've got my Quin Rose here, and I'm going to add ultramarine. And what I want is, I want a kind of a berry color. That's the wrong kind of berry. Let's put a little more. Okay, maybe there. Something about like that. See, it's a purple, but it's a very reddish purple. Okay. Now, I'm going to work with this very thinly. I may have a little too much red into this for this to work really well. It does real well on top of raw sienna. But I really don't need all that much of it over there anyway. And that's what I meant by my skin, making my skin look less purpley, is simply that I'm getting the acidic color out of here. I've added so much brown in that I didn't need very much of this. Usually I use more than this. Just float a little in. I think we're going to have some more brown in here behind. Remember, we've got a curl masked out there. I think we're getting near the end of this thing. So as I look at this now, I can see that this hair is just too yellow for the skin. The skin is on the purpley side, and so the remedy for that is to glaze in a little bit of yellow on the skin. So let's do that. And I think the nose is a little too red too. It may have to have a little more shadow on it. But I'm real careful about getting too much cool colors on the nose or the cheeks. That can really backfire. I've seen that happen so many times. So I'm going to put out a little bit of New Gamboge again, because that's the yellow we were working with. It's very transparent. Okay, let's just add a little bit in some places and see what happens. Because I may freak and say, oh, and that's not it. By the way, I need more of a more baggy area here yet. So I kind of want that cool that's here on the side of the head. Let's soften this edge and kind of keep that off of this area, because I like that cool there. I may just have to cool a little bit more right in there here to go with it. That actually needs a little more brown in it too. Okay, let's see. So these are things that you just discover as you go along. You've got to be ready to, oh, what on earth? You got to be ready to be a little bit flexible. I'm gonna blot that. However, I gotta say that what looks like a lot of yellow right now, when it's dry, it's not gonna, actually, I'm liking that, okay. And the yellow will be a lot weaker dry. Just put a little right in through here. Oh, you know, that puts a little life in me. Now, let's see. Let's go back and let's get, I think that's Rose. Let's go back and let's pull a little more color in this area down here. See, again, we're making that wrinkle by making a shadow under the highlighted area. Now, the thing about this yellow is when it dries, it's going to be a lot weaker, and I may wind up adding more yellow. Flat's really not good for making curvy shapes like that. Let's see, a little more burnt umber. And burnt umber is considered, from my reading, is considered to be a yellow. I always thought of it as sort of an dulled down orange, but I read where it was classified as a yellow. See, you can see that curl showing up there now. How about this area? So the thing is, you don't necessarily need detail everywhere. Just because it's in the picture doesn't mean you need to detail it. Here's a little shape here. Just something like that there. And I suppose I have to give it a little bit of motion this way. And we need to bring that hairline here. Bring this down just a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Well, see, I don't like that's still too yellow for the shadows. So let's take a little of our purple and drop into our brown. This should be a little darker and duller too. And I think that that doesn't look right, so I'm going to put a little phthalo back into it. Oh dear. I think I'm getting carried away. What do you think? Actually, phthalo's not so distant from purple. It makes great purples. I think I'll leave that alone and see how I feel about it when it's dry. So I'm looking over here at my yellows, and I might be okay with them for now. I'm suspecting that I'm going to want to go a little more yellow, but maybe not. I think I'd like a little more shape right in here, and I could do that again with some oops. So I'm getting a little bit sloppy here. As I'm getting near the finish. Oh, okay, well, what we have we need, I'm not picking up color here. There, now I got color. I gotta be brutally honest here. So, let's use the flat. The flat's easier to work with. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to tone it down. Let's put some glasses in. These glasses are a real reddish brown. What if we just take burn umber and add it to the purple. I added too much. Let's get a little more Queen Rose. Oh, it's not like I need to match those color of those glasses. I never was. I always thought the color was a little too strong for my face. Let's see. Oh, let's get our pointy brush. Remember this one? This is great for when you're doing stuff like this. And we have got, see, we have got this thing that's going to need a highlight on it. This, I don't know what you call this gizmo between the two lenses. Okay. So the main thing, I'm trying to move this so I don't put my hand on a wet spot. Okay. Now, in my desire to hurry up and finish, I may be getting a little too fast. I'm going to pause the tape. Okay. So I put the color of the glasses in, and I removed my masking, which is the PBO drawing gum with a rubber cement pickup. Y'all remember what this is, because rubber cement pickup is really pretty necessary if you've used PBO drawing gum to really work well with it, because it's not gunky, so it doesn't roll up as easily. Okay, now this needs some stuff. So I've lifted this, I've got the glasses in. Now I'm going to use some white ink in a minute. And so here's my white ink, and darn, it doesn't want to open. Well, it did, but pretend it didn't. Okay, so all you need to do when you run into that, because that'll happen, just set it upside down in some water for a couple of minutes, and it comes loose real easily. So whatever area it is that gets stuck with that ink is reachable by the water. And it soaks it loose in no time. All right, lifting. Well, see, once you've got this up, it's always a bit of a shock, and it almost never looks natural. If you've done a decent job of it, you'll be okay. If you get really, really sloppy, sometimes you can be really shocked by the results. So this sort of works, but oh, that doesn't, does it? So let's, I've got dry paper, of course, because I would never pull up my my masking fluid without having the paper really dry. So I've got my lifting brush that I just dipped in the water, and I'm going to soften this edge before, you know, because this still has to be painted some, obviously. Okay, I think I'll not blot that. I meant to leave an open area here, and I didn't. Instead, I wound up with a rough area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of other lifting. That didn't look too good. Okay, maybe there. You could lift some other little areas too. Now remember, don't get caught up in trying to make individual hairs coming down here with a lifting brush. There, see, that puts a little more shape to it. We'll soften this edge here. Maybe I can get rid of some of that line. But besides, when you soften an edge, it looks more like natural hair, because from a distance you don't see the individual hairs, but you see where there's less and less of them. And so you begin to see the background through that. So that kind of works. Now hair can be a great, there's all kinds of ways that you can play with hair to get wonderful design things happening. See how that feels more natural there? But I've got all kinds of different ways that I work with hair. In fact, I've done some of Lolly where I had a lot of fun with the hair. Okay, there, and then we're coming back over in here. This still needs to be darker, but that's just too red right there. I kind of messed with that. So what I'm going to do is, there's highlights in the shadow too, but they shouldn't be as light as these over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some highlights in, and then I'm going to tone them with, oh, I don't know, maybe phthalo green. So that they're not so light, and I want the color to feel more like it's in shadow. Had some curl coming through here. Maybe I'll try to indicate a little of that. Something to be careful with though, because you can overdo it. You know, I'm going to take this out and put something back in if I can. That's the thing about Arches paper. It will let you get away with murder. Just try to make a little action in here, but I got to be careful that I don't overdo it. It gets real tempting to come in and do too much, but working around some of those edges is generally a good bet. Okay, that looks a whole lot more natural. Just a whole lot more natural. And it looks like my hair, which is pretty unruly. So I think I would like to soften another edge or two on this just a little bit before I color it. Just make it a little bit softer, but it's not as soft as these lifted edges at all. So it really stands out here. Now, when you look at this curl, you can see this part of the curl is in front of that. This is darker back here. Got a slightly lighter spot there and gets a little darker. And then it blends in up here. And this little back part of the curl is a little bit darker. So that's your lightest spot right there. So let's just take what I'm at this point going to call hair color. I'm not even sure what I have in there. Okay. I don't know. I might soften some edges on that some more. Just, I don't want it to look too artificial there. It's not that I don't mind doing things with hair that look artificial if it's fun, but it has to be appropriate where it is. Okay, so that might be close. I'm going to exaggerate the dark on this just a little bit It's not really that dark. I'm going to pull that in behind just a little bit more to make it feel a little more natural. I suspect that we got to put the tiniest bit of color in here. It's going to be too bright still. And I didn't know it was going to be too bright until I did the other areas, and then I had to adjust. Okay, that's pretty cool. You know, I've still got a really red spot right there, and I was thinking about taking it out, but now I'm thinking about leaving it. Okay, so I'm not completely satisfied with this, and I would probably do some more tweaking on shapes. I think this needs to get darker. This needs to get darker up in here. I think that's a couple of things. I could get a little bit darker around the eyes, and I might like it better that way. But I'm going to finish up the glasses, and oh yeah, so there's this one area. It's probably in the right mixture. I thought I would put a little bit more dark right here on the blouse too. Yeah, about like that. Okay, so I've got the white ink. And let's go back to, where's the pointy brush? Here's the pointy brush. So we've got a couple of things to do, and I have had people ask me how to paint gold. They worry about they need to buy gold paint or something, and that's not how it works. In fact, I would use some raw sienna. I don't want it to get too bright, so I'm going to use raw sienna rather than Quinn Gold. And I'm going to put in a little bit of this. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that's about right. It could get a little darker. I tell you what, we'll just fill this whole thing in with the raw sienna, and then we'll paint on top of it. Okay, and same thing over here. And this stuff's kind of opaque, and so it helps hide some stuff. Bye. Just got some green here. I'm just picking up a little bit of olive green that I had over there. I could have used almost anything. Well, I wouldn't have used red, but I could have used a brown or... Let's soften that edge. Okay, like that. That's a little bit more dark around the eyes. I might do some other things to it too. But like I said, y'all don't need to see all that. Oh, that's too dark. Okay, so let's start with the white ink. all I'm going to do to make these glasses really look like glasses is we need some, see there's some little highlights on the edges of where actually where plastic meets plastic. And that needs to be pretty bright. You don't put it everywhere, you just put it where you see it. Oh, here's some right up here. And then let's see. Just put a thing or two there for this little, whatever is going on in these little gizmos. I'm just sort of halfway paying attention to what it is. Oh, see, that's working. Now this got dull. I want this to be a little brighter. And so I'm just going to go back over what I just did. Now that it's dry, so it can be a little stronger. And if I wanted to, which I do, I might even put in a bit of a line for the bifocal. The fact is, I don't get contacts because you can hide a lot of ugly with glasses. Well, again, my mixture, if you've got it thin enough to flow off your brush, you won't necessarily get a bright white, and you don't always want a bright white, but I want it to be a little bit lighter than that so it looks metallic, because that's how it looks metallic. Now up here, I just want some lighter places on this, and that could be oops, a little off. And then, again, the metallic area you want to be really high contrast. That's two separate reflections from two different light sources in the room. Now, this isn't dark enough where the can't talk. This isn't dark enough right in here. Let's see. I need a little shadow there, a little more shadow under here. Maybe a little more shadow right there. You know what? I picked up actually some green again, like I put on the eyes. I should set those teeth back in just a tiny bit more. Pick up the littlest bit of ultramarine. Whoa, whoa, no, not that much ultramarine. Lot that some more. Okay, I think about there. Oh, and another thing is this little area up here is just too bright. Stands out too much. Let's just put a little color in over here. And let's blend it a little bit. There. Okay. So, okay, a couple more spots, and I am going to stop. I wanted that to be darker. I wanted this darker than what it is. And I decided it wasn't too red yet. I need to put in so much red that it is too red, and then I can put some green on top of it. Okay, let's dry that. Let's just put a dab of green on those two spots to darken it. So I'm talking about phthalo green, of course. And remember, you could use, I can't talk again. You could use Viridian to soften that. That's probably going to make it enough. Oops, went away. We worked it a little bit too wet. So what I did was I didn't make my brush water neutral enough before I blended. And I think that needs a little bit more shadow right there. I think I'll take some of this green over here, which just happens to be, I don't even know what's in it. I just want that not to be quite so prominent. Oh, look at that, where that looks all lumpy and what all. That's about right. Yep, that looks like me. I'm stopping right here. I think that's enough of the portrait lesson. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't do more to it at some point. I don't know what the more to it would be, but because I don't know yet. And I'll probably not do anything more, but till next time. Okay, I added in, thought I was gonna stop. I added in a little bit more color right here on the tip of the nose, a little bit more color right there to shape the chin a little better. I added some dark greens, like olive looking greens here around the eyes, you know, put in a wrinkle or two and put more shading in here on the eyes. And I think it looks a lot better now. So I'm basically through with it. That was all. If you wanted to get fancy and do a few little hairlines, again, this brush would be great for that, because you can just add in little bits of stuff, real fine, if you wanted to. I really don't. I think it's about right the way it is. Okay, try to hold on to this. So this keeps it from being, the image from being so distorted in shape. So I went back and I continued to tweak, and I may tweak some more. You can see I've added a little bit more darks here, just little bits of color at a time. A lot of it, I hardly broke an edge at all because it's very pale. And because I kind of like right there and here, you can see a stroke. You can see these little strokes right in here. See, they're chopped up. See, there's a little shape here, a little shape there. You know, they're pale little bits of that look a little hard-edged, maybe just a little bit more geometric. I emphasize this triangle here just a little bit more. So it's kind of nice seeing one's face as art instead of just wrinkles. So I enjoyed this project. That's all.